You're listening to the 10-minute podcast challenge that will prove every place is the same. Welcome your host, the irreverent, the cosmopolitan, the wicked, Daniela Vlaskalic.
Hello, and welcome to Every Place Is The Same. I am delighted to welcome my guest, Caspar Haydar. Hi, Caspar.
Hey.
Now, Caspar, you grew up in Sydney, Australia. Is that right?
That's right.
And you also spent quite a bit of time in Beirut, in Lebanon, yes?
In Lebanon, I did spend a lot of time, yes.
So would you say that Sydney, Australia, and Beirut, Lebanon are the same?
Definitely in some parts.
Yes, in some parts?
Yes.
Well, for some of our more skeptical listeners, we are going to prove today that Sydney, Australia, and Beirut, Lebanon are the same. Are you up for that?
Let's do it, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, talk about Sydney, Australia. What does it look like? What does it feel like?
It's hot. Very diverse, multicultural, colonial, great beaches, awesome food, lots of fun.
If I'm walking down the main street in Sydney, what's the high street?
The high street, you would say, either like maybe Pitt Street or George Street, like in the city. Like the city's really built, like you've got the downtown CBD, the central business district, but that doesn't really come alive at night anymore. Then you have the surrounding suburbs, which are kind of like colonial and cool, and places like Newtown and Redfern and Surrey Hills and Paddington and Bondi. The beaches, like Sydney's, it's the beaches. So it makes Sydney famous.
Talk about Beirut in Lebanon.
Beaches again, beautiful beaches, great nightlife, awesome food, beautiful fashion, really awesome emerging art scene, really like history as well, like lots of amazing history. I mean,
Sydney is hot, you said.
Very hot.
Some would say you are hot.
Thank you.
Beirut, hot or not?
Definitely hot.
Very hot?
Very hot.
As hot as you?
Yeah, way hotter than I am.
Sydney started out as a penal colony.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know a lot about it growing up in Australia. It's part of what you're taught at school.
Yes.
You know.
Botany Bay.
Botany Bay and the overcrowded boat prisons in London and shipping over petty criminals to Australia to start the penal colony, yeah.
Now, Sydney is the most expensive city in the world.
It's crazy. It's more expensive to live in Sydney than it is in New York and London.
What are some of the landmarks that you would encourage people to see in Sydney?
In Sydney, absolutely. Go down to Bondi, take the beach trail, go, walk through Bondi to Tamarama, to Bronte, climb the Harbour Bridge, take a drive to the Blue Mountains if you can. It's gorgeous. There's, so many great beaches. There's lots to do. And great food, amazing food, great seafood. Eat, lots to do.
What's the most expensive thing you encountered in Beirut?
Real estate.
Really?
Real estate in Beirut is expensive, period, as well. Like, it's very expensive.
Okay, so they're both very expensive cities.
Yes, they are.
Beirut, one of the oldest wine-producing cities in the world.
Tasty.
So you've had some good wine there?
I've had a lot of good wine.
Now, Sydney would be considered a fairly new world wine.
Very true.
Good wine there, though.
Great wine. And we drink a lot more than our Lebanese counterparts. And being mixed Lebanese and Australian, Lord, do I drink a lot.
So you would drink a lot of wine. Very good wine.
Very good.
In both places.
Totally.
You talked about food.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about seafood.
Yeah.
What's your favorite kind of seafood in Sydney?
Everything. If you look... The fresh barramundi, the fresh snapper, lobster, it's the crab, the oysters, everything is amazing.
In Beirut?
More the whitefish, like, kind of thing. I don't, like just fish, a lot of fried fish, and they do a lot of fish dishes with, like, nuts and rice, and it's called, like, a chili fish. And
amazing.
And they catch it, lots of it's all called fresh. And
did you ever play Go Fish?
Go fish. I think so, yes. I'm just trying to remember. Yes, I did.
Now, the Mediterranean diet, or the Middle Eastern diet, talk about that. What are some of the delicacies that you would have in Beirut?
Well, see, in Lebanon, you eat the main meal at lunch. You don't have the big meal at dinner. So anything with meat, anything like heavy rice, that thing, like the main big meal is had at lunch. And then usually they have a siesta after, and then you go back to work. So, and then at dinner time, you have like tapas, things light, like olives and cheeses and dips and bread and tea and things like that. Or
do they have siestas in Sydney?
Absolutely not. We have hangovers.
You'd have a hangover as your siesta in Sydney.
Yeah.
In the 20s and 30s in Sydney, there was a lot of organized crime in the heyday. Run by two of the main crime bosses were women.
Ooh.
Tilly Devine and Kate Lee.
Okay. Kate Lee I've heard of. In King's Cross?
Yes.
Yep.
Now, obviously things have changed.
Yeah, not for the better. We need women running things more.
That's right. We need more women running things. Talk about women in Beirut.
A mishmash of everything. You see women, wearing hijabs, and then women wearing couture. So
fashion is high.
Style in Lebanon it's part of the culture. Appearance is everything. Being dressed a certain way, and they love designer clothing. They love fashion. They love looking good. They love being groomed well and smelling well, and yeah.
Exciting. What's your Sydney style?
A bit more. You know what? Sydney is very fashion forward as well, but it's a bit more trendy, I would say. Sydney's definitely a bit more trendy, maybe a touch more relaxed than Lebanon. But you see a mishmash of everything. You also see women in scarves and thongs and shorts, and then really fashion. Look, they're both well dressed, but definitely Sydney's more relaxed than Beirut.
A bit more relaxed, but you're going to find high fashion, low fashion. You're going to find exciting.
Yes.
Fashion in both of these exciting cities.
Yes.
Blue Mountains. Describe what those are for our international listeners.
It's beautiful. As you drive down and you see the mountains, towards to go to the Blue Mountains, they have this kind of a blue mist almost over them, and they look blue, and they're absolutely beautiful. And the three that are famous, they're called the Three Sisters. And they're these three rock formations that you go up, and they're three of them. They call them the Three Sisters, and it's really beautiful up there. And there's so much you go trekking, and the town's great.
How does it smell?
Fresh.
Eucalyptus.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Talk about eucalyptus.
I love eucalyptus. Well, I'm a florist. I love eucalyptus. But for me, eucalyptus is just something I always grew up with, whether we suck it on it or... It's not exactly I ran around smelling it on trees, to be perfect. It's everywhere, but more like gumdrops and all that kind of stuff.
What's your favorite shade of blue?
Navy.
Navy. Describe when you look out... You're in Beirut. What do you see around you?
See, Beirut is one of the only cities in the world where you actually could have 3 seasons in one day. For example, you could go skiing in the morning in the mountains, and then go swimming in the beach in the afternoon, and have a spring evening at night. It's beautiful. It's just, there's something about it. It's everything: busy lights, history, buzzing people, ocean.
Beirut, florally speaking. If you were going to make a Beirut-inspired arrangement, what kinds of flowers would you use that would remind you of that magnificent city?
Jasmine. Fresh jasmine.
Sydney, florally, if you were doing a Sydney bouquet, what would you use?
I think gardenias.
Gardenias?
Yeah.
Both have strong scents.
Both I grew up with. Both gardenia, my neighbor. When I think of Lebanon, I think of the smell of jasmine, and on the verandas of my family's homes, and then when I think of Sydney, I think of my neighbor Katie and her big gardenia bush, and that's what I'd smell at night. And during the day, I'd always, and I was still a couple for my mum.
So beautiful smelling flowers. Strong, vibrant,
Yep.
colorful.
Yep.
Just like the women.
Totally.
Beirut, once known Paris of the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still?
It is again.
It is again.
Look, I don't think it'll ever lose that. No matter, the essence is always there. You might, the buildings might go in the the physical sense, but that's just rebuilt, and the spirit. It totally. If anything, I think with what they've gone through in the past, there's even this like really sense of living in the now, and there's this thing about us having a good time all the time. They're always up to party. If you like to party, you will love Beirut.
If you like to party, would you like Sydney?
You know what? Yes, you would have. But unfortunately now with the lockout laws, not as much.
I need a drink. Where would you take me in Sydney?
Ooh, Newtown. Because you can still drink all night.
In Beirut, where would you take me?
Somewhere by the ocean. Oh, Journey. Maybe by the ocean. Sit in an old... It's just bad. I'm trying to remember where that old drawbridge where you could sit in it and it's by the ocean. You could drink Coronas. That's just the beach. It's beautiful. But you know what? Who am I saying? Both. I would actually just take you, not Newtown. I would take you to the ocean, to both places, to the beach.
So if I was really in need of a drink, which I always am.
The beach.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Sydney will go to icebergs.
Icebergs! Sounds good. Have they ever seen an iceberg in Sydney?
I don't think so.
I don't think they've seen an iceberg in Sydney or in Beirut for that matter.
No, I don't think so.
If you want to look good, if you want to feel good, if you want to have a drink, and you want to smell like a beautiful flower, either a jasmine or a gardenia, and party the night away by the beautiful ocean, you want to go to Sydney, Australia, or Beirut, Lebanon. Caspar, I want to thank you for being on the show today and for helping me prove that Sydney, Australia, and Beirut, Lebanon are the same.
Thank you for having me.
You just listened to Every Place Is The Same, hosted by Daniela Vlaskalic and produced by Drumcast Productions. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and follow us on Twitter at Every Place Is The Same. Until the next time, enjoy your travels.